What's up? My name is James Yoxon. This is episode 2 of the How to Man podcast, offering gems for men who want to level up. All right, this week, it was an honor. I'm very fortunate. I got to interview Mr. Play, Jay Ingram, founder of Auto Direct Group and Play Performance. He's literally came from sleeping on a bus stop to a multi-millionaire. And don't be fooled. He's really fucking living that life, guys. I went there, I witnessed it, I saw the Bentley, I saw the crib, everything. This guy's really living it. He's not a guru selling some course of some sort. He's a real entrepreneur. Okay, before we dive into this conversation that we had, I don't like the word humble, but this guy was one of the most respectful and down-to-earth dudes that I've ever met. I swear to God. And he's had a lot of media attention, some of it negative, some of it positive. I didn't care about any of that stuff. All I wanted to do in this conversation that I'm about to share with you was have a heart-to-heart, respectful, man-to-man talk with Jay Ingram, the man who's done big things. And that's exactly what we did. There's so many gems dropped in this conversation. You cannot miss this. Now, before you dive in, just know this information is potent and it should be acted upon. So if you hear something in here that you feel could change your life, fucking act on it. Don't just listen, act on it. Let's tune in. Welcome to the show, guys. How to Man podcast. My name is James Yoxon. This is Jay Ingram, founder of Auto Direct Group and Play Performance. Man, this guy's come from sleeping on a bus stop to multi-millionaire, and he's got heaps of gems to drop for men just looking to level up to the next spot in life and chase their dreams relentlessly. So I had to fucking interview you, bro. I feel it was like a coincidence, a weird coincidence by the universe that we met. I never go to that Zarafas.
Yeah, for sure.
We met at Zarafas.
It's actually the first time I've been there too.
Yeah. It was so weird. I was sitting there like making some revisions to my book, and Jay comes right up to me, says hi, and our people that we knew in the past knew each other, and boom, here we are, man. So I appreciate you reaching out, and yeah, I can't wait to hear the gems you've got to drop, bro.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's awesome how the universe sort of just falls into place.
100%.
Like yeah.
So where did it all start, brother?
So I moved over to Australia in 2012. It has been a bit of a journey, and so I guess you'd say that it all started really just getting off the plane. Me and my best friend moved over here with 1 day's notice.
Wow.
It wasn't something that we'd even considered doing prior to that day, and we basically just jumped on a plane impromptu and found ourselves at Coolangatta Airport. And I'm a big believer in I'm not super spiritual, but I'm a really big believer in checkpoints in life. I feel like there's a direction, there's a pathway to everything that you want. It's just a matter of trying to find it with the lights off.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you can't see it, you have to feel it. So those checkpoints are really important in my life, and throughout my whole life there's always been checkpoints. But for that plane trip, I was sitting on the plane leaving Auckland Airport, and one of the last passengers to get onto the plane was my mum's best friend, my mum had just passed away, and my mum's best friend came and sat down next to me.
Yeah, wow.
So that was the checkpoint that I knew I'd been making the right move. So I've always had checkpoints like that, and I think it's really important to be able to not just be open to them, but actually see them. Yeah.
Wow, man. Yeah, okay. Yeah, damn. And she was coming over to live, was she?
Yeah, she was moving
Wow.
over as well. So the last time I'd actually seen her was at my mum's funeral. And so to be sitting on a plane and watch the plane filling up with an empty seat next to me and not knowing whether I was making the right move or not, and then to look down the aisle and see one of my mum's very close friends walking down the aisle and sitting next to me, that was kind of just, whether you call it God or whatever you believe in, that was definitely like a sign that I'd found my way again.
Yeah, wow.
Because for a couple of years there, like since my mum had passed away to that point, I'd probably lost my way a little bit. But yeah, I'd say that's probably, if like when you ask when it first started, it was probably that moment when I started paying attention more.
Yeah, how old were you again at that point?
I would have been 22.
Yeah.
When I first moved over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And then from there, what happened? So you live in Oz?
Yeah, basically, as soon as I moved in Australia, when I got here, we found, we were living out of a backpackers, and we're staying in a hotel that we couldn't afford the rent in. It was basically just do like whatever we had to be able to try and make it. We had no plans. We had nowhere to stay. We didn't have jobs. The first job that I had in Australia, we walked into a nightclub on Cavill Ave and applied for a glassy job. And I'd done the glassy job for about 2 weeks, and then I went home and Googled how to write a marketing report.
Yeah.
And it took me about a week, but I wrote like a 20-page marketing report, and I went back to work as a glassy, and I slipped it under the boss's desk. And the next day the boss called me into his office and gave me the marketing director's job.
Oh, true.
So I was in charge of 5 people based off just writing a report off Google at the backpackers. yeah. So I've always kind of like been able to fall on my feet like that a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
That nightclub ended up closing down, and the job fell through. And at one point, I considered moving back to New Zealand. That was one of the low points. And I actually recall writing a pros and cons list at the time. And the job that I had before I moved to Australia was working in the forestry, and I was getting paid, I think it was about $12 an hour. And I remember this pros and cons list. Yeah. And on a pro for moving back to New Zealand, I wrote more money.
Yeah.
I wish I had that list still now. I'd frame it. Yeah. So I'm pleased I never moved back. But yeah, so after I wrote the list, I probably made 100 phone calls off Seek, and just to try and find something to do. I had no money. We were like, there's a saying like going behind the couch for coins. We were literally lifting up cushions in the house trying to find coins so that we could eat. Damn. We had nothing. We were about 3 weeks overdue on the rent on the hotel room that we were staying at. We didn't know anybody here. We had no contacts. Me and my best friend. And one day I get a phone call, and there's a man on the other end of the line, and the man on the other end of the line says, "You had an interview with my boss?" And I said, "Yep." I hadn't had an interview with anybody. Nobody would even give me a chance.
Oh, true.
And so he said, "You had an interview with my boss?" I said, "Yeah, I did." And he said, "He really likes you. When can you start?" And I said, "I'm good to start tomorrow." So at this point, I'm trying to work out what the job is, because I've applied for about 200 jobs. I don't even know what the job is. So I said, no problem. What do I need? And he said, "Have you got a ute?" And I said, "Yep." I didn't have a ute. He said, "Have you got tools?" I said, "Sure do." I didn't have any tools. And he said, "Can you meet me at the Hinterland Hotel at 6 o'clock in the morning?" And I said, "Of course I can," and jumped off the phone. Went down the bus stop. Buses didn't start till 6. So I'm in surfer's paradise, living in a hotel that I can't afford the rent in. I've got a job that I don't know where it came from, but again, the universe has given me a sign. Yeah. And all I had left was a laptop. And so I walked to the backpackers with my laptop into the lounge, sold the laptop for $150 to the first person that would show me the money. Used the $150 to get a taxi to the bus stop where I was supposed to be picked up in the morning. Yeah. And I slept in the bus stop that night. And in the morning, I stood next to a parked ute in the car park. I never told him that it was mine, but I certainly gave him the impression that it was. And
no way! Damn.
Yeah, and he picked me up, and that was my first day. Was actually installing solar panels, and I didn't know what I was doing until we actually turned up to the site.
Yeah, wow.
And I spent 3 days in that bus stop.
Oh, damn.
So he dropped me back off, pretended to get into the ute, waited till the van drove away. Yeah. And then went back to the bus stop. Yeah. And I've done the same thing again for 3 days.
Damn.
And first paycheck, went down to the Salvo Army shop, bought a mattress, went on to Gumtree, looked for the closest house that I could find to the bus stop. Yeah. Put the mattress on the floor of a room. And that was me for 6 months.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So when I talk about like signs, that guy actually ended up becoming one of my best friends. Yeah. And years later, I told him that story because I'd never told him before. And I sat there and I said to him, I said, like, how did you call me? Like, I don't understand. He said, they must have mixed up the applications. And I said to him, like, why did you take me on? I said, I wasn't good at the time. I hadn't eaten for a couple of days. I had no money. I was depressed. I didn't know what to do. And he said to me, this is years later, he said to me, he said, I felt sorry for you. He said, you look like you were sick. And I was. I hadn't eaten. I was skinny. So it was a trip, bro.
Wow, man.
Yeah, ended up being one of my best friends. So
Yeah, wow.
yeah,
Man, it reminds me of Think and Grow Rich. I believe there was a story of this guy who wanted to work with Edison. I forgot his name. And he put himself on a train. He had absolutely nothing. And he's like, I don't care what I go through, what it takes, I'm going to get this result, or I'm going to be a partner with this guy. And man, it sounds like that with you. You were just relentless. Sell your laptop, sleep at a bus stop just to fucking get the result. Bro.
And interestingly enough, like that was really like where the journey, I started seeing things differently. Before I left New Zealand, I grew up in a small country town, and my family had contacts, and we definitely didn't grow up with any money.
Yeah.
But if I had a job, it was generally with my dad's friend or my mum's friend.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'm in a country where I don't have any contacts. I don't know anybody. I've got nobody to rely on. My mum was always the one that sort of backed me. So I'm also learning that if I run out of money, I don't have my mum to go to anymore, because it's the first time that I'm dealing with that situation after her death. So all of a sudden, it's just me. There's no safety net. Like if I don't have money to eat, I'm not eating.
Damn.
So just that first night after I got dropped back, I couldn't ask for an advance on my first day.
Yeah.
I had no money, and as I said, I had no money for dinner, and I actually walked to a backpackers from the bus stop. Yeah. And I walked in, and I gave the receptionist a wave, and I walked through the lounge, and I walked to the kitchen, and I opened the kitchen cupboard, and I took a can of baked beans out of the kitchen cupboard, and I walked to the utensil drawer, grabbed a spoon, and I ate a can of baked beans it was mine, and then I walked straight back out again, bro. That was what I had for dinner that night, that can of baked beans. Yeah.
Far out, man. So what happened after that?
So pretty much like at that point, I'm in hybrid mode. Yeah. So every dollar that's coming in, I'm appreciating it. I understand the value of every dollar. Yeah. I've got nobody to impress. I'm sleeping on a mattress on the floor. I don't know anybody here. I don't need to flex on anybody. It's hybrid mode. Like, it's just me, and it's just me trying to get somewhere. I went on to Amazon, and I looked at like the top 100 business books, and I just started working my way down. So I downloaded an app called Audible. Yeah. And I just started at the top and just kept going down. So I had nothing to do. I had a mattress in my bedroom. There's no furniture. Just I sat there and just started listening and started reading. Yeah, wow. And every paycheck that I got, I took it out of the bank in cash, and I put it in 2 separate envelopes. So I put it in a spending envelope and a savings envelope. And as I said, it was the first time that I actually needed a job. So I'm probably the first to admit that prior to that, I used to go to work expecting a paycheck. Like I was the asset. And now all of a sudden, I don't have those contacts anymore, and I understand that like I have to produce. Yeah. So I probably went from being the worst worker on the force in New Zealand to being the best in Australia, because I was trying to be as productive as possible. I was trying to create something. Yeah. So that turning point, knowing that I didn't deserve a job, that a job was a privilege, it changed everything. It changed the way that I acted, sort of my output. And I've kept that the whole way through. So I'm obviously not in that position anymore, but those attributes that I learned then, understanding the fundamentals of going to work to produce, not going to work to claim, like it stays all the way through. Yep.
Entitlement mentality, hey.
100%.
Before that, yeah. Wow, yeah, okay. So just whatever you're doing, do it well.
You have to.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, if you're not aiming to be the best, then, you're probably going to be the worst.
And wasting your time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, wow. Okay. Yeah, cool. So 6 months you were working doing the solar.
Yeah.
So from there, how did you get into this industry you're now in? How did you get into vehicles?
So we're a high performance specialist, and we send cars all around Australia now. Yeah. We work with a lot of collectors, finance companies, repossessions, lots of things like that. So basically, I worked the solar job, and my partner had just moved over from New Zealand. So I'd rented an apartment. I moved off the mattress on the floor, obviously, because I couldn't sort of see, she couldn't see me living like that.
Yeah.
And Yeah, so
Yeah.
I got dropped off in Surfers Paradise on a place called Paradise Island.
Yeah.
And I remember walking around all these hotels. I had no references, had a little, a couple grand in the bank that I'd sort of saved up, but I'd only rented a room previous to that. I think I went to 4 or 5 different apartment buildings, and as soon as I said I had no references, they couldn't help me. By like the 5th or the 6th one that I went to, funnily enough, was actually the best looking one of the lot.
Wow.
I was already prepped, so I went in there. The building manager came down. I shook his hand. First thing I said to him was, "Look, I have no references, but I'm a good man, and like, I'm going to look after the place, and I just need a chance." And his name was Dudley. I still remember him. And he walked me upstairs, showed me the room, gave me the key.
Yeah.
And it was just as simple as that.
Wow.
It was a man-to-man vibe.
Yeah, wow, just respect.
Yeah, he just gave me a chance. And so I remember, I bought a shitty old Hilux Ute
Yeah.
with the money that I had in the bank, and I went to pick up my partner at the time from the airport, and down in Coolangatta. And on the way home, I stopped at about 5 or 6 different real rundown, horrible looking flats.
Yeah.
And I said, "We're home, like it's not much." And she's like, "Oh, it's lovely, And then I said, "No, I'm just messing with you." And so I stopped at about 5 or 6 the whole way back.
Dang.
And eventually we got to the one that I'd actually leased. And she didn't believe me.
Yeah,
She
wow.
said, "There's no way that we're staying here. This is a hotel."
Yeah.
It was actually was one of the penthouse apartments in the building.
True.
And it looked like a hotel. It was a long way away from anything that I'd sort of been used to.
Yeah.
And that was basically our first home.
Yeah, wow. Awesome, man. Yeah, wow, okay. And then so you just worked your ass off, you filled the place out. Yeah.
So in the midst of trying to get her transportation, we were on Gumtree, I believe, and there was like a $3,000 vehicle on Gumtree, and we drove out to the man's house to have a look at it and purchase this car. And he was a real like slimy, seedy car salesman. Like the vibe was just, it was real rich on this bloke, eh? And I remember like just before we paid for it, he said to me, "Take the car home," and he said, "Put another $1,000 on it, use my photos, and just relist the car." And I was sort of thinking, "No, whatever, mate. Like, I'm doing solo at the time, and I was making $1,500 a week or something, and I thought that was really good money, and I was, I thought I was doing really well, but I went home and I had nothing to do, so sure enough, I just relisted the vehicle, copy and pasted the ad, put the photos back on, and the next day I sold it.
Just mark the price up a bit.
I put $1,000 on it. Next day, someone came around and gave me, paid 3.5, and they came around and paid me 4.5. So I called this bloke back up and I said, "Have you got any more?" And he said, "I knew you'd be back."
Yeah.
And so we went back out, and sure enough, we picked up another car. And within probably 3 months, we had every visitor car park in that apartment building full.
True.
With all these cheap cars that we were getting. And we were having to pay off the neighbours with bottles of wine so that they didn't complain to Body Corp. And we just kept moving them. I kept going back.
Yeah, wow.
And I think this guy was onto a good number with me. And that was the start of Auto Direct Group. That was where we first started.
Yeah, wow.
So we started with one $3,000 car, and we hold $5-6 million worth of vehicles now and ship them all around the country.
Yeah, wow, man.
So it's been a journey.
Yeah. Damn. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So tell me about that. So what did you do? You listed it on. It was just Gumtree.
Yeah.
It would have been Facebook Marketplace. Wouldn't have been a thing
Facebook
back
Marketplace wasn't a thing. No.
Yeah.
So it was on Gumtree, and it got to the point I was still doing solar. So it got to the point where I was actually making significantly more money in this after work enterprise that I'd just taken on with this bloke that I'd met on the side of the road, than what I was actually making it doing solar.
Yeah.
But I respected the job, and that the boss had become a very close friend of mine.
Yeah.
And but eventually the big job that we were on ran out, and I thought to myself, my mentality had changed then. I was seeing the world as something that I could market to, as opposed to just being a consumer at that point. And that was you have people talk about standing on the edge of a cliff and just jumping.
Yeah.
That was my jump moment. So the job finished, and I had a conversation with my boss, and I said, look, I'm just going to try and give this thing a go. And in my head, the idea was if I ever made less money doing the cars than what I did with solar, that I would be able to go back to my job.
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting for that day, but it hasn't happened yet.
Man, I think that's a gem that you dropped as well. So I wanted to like highlight what you just said, and it was like you didn't leave and go full into your business until it was excelling your current
100%.
job.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people that have made that mistake, and in my opinion, it is a mistake to sort of just you have to transition something first. The energy has to be there. You have to be able to manifest it. It's just not a matter of just having an interest in something and just jumping completely. Especially when you have people to rely upon you.
Yeah.
Men with kids or a mortgage, a partner. You have to be. It's just as important to be secure as it is to be profitable. Probably more.
100%, man. Well, then you're not scrambling.
Yeah.
Or spending your capital to grow the business just on bills, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. It's one thing to be able to create income, but it's definitely a harder thing to be able to secure it and be able to maintain it. That's a lot of people focus on just thinking that if they can create income, it's going to change their life. It doesn't unless you can secure it.
Yeah, for sure.
Your priorities change. Security is more important,
And you would have had to, I guess, reinvest pretty much all of it back into the business, right?
Yeah,
to get more stock.
Yeah, all of it. But that wasn't a task. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't something that was hard to do. That was enterprise, and that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't about trying to take money out of the business to look a certain way or impress anybody. I have some nice things now because I can have nice things now.
Yeah.
But I don't believe in buying something if you can really even see it in your bank account. Like if it's going to change, that you shouldn't really have it.
Yeah, 100%.
And I sacrificed for years and years and years. Old shitty pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Old pair of jeans.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so a gradual build up. And, all right, okay. Where did you learn these skills for? I mean, you probably just learned on the go, but was there any certain... First of all, let's start with mistakes. What were some of the biggest mistakes you made in building?
Probably the biggest mistakes that have made has been more of a mentality than an actual mistake, and it's something that I still struggle with to this day. But being aware of it is half the battle. Because I grew up relatively, we didn't have a lot of money as kids. Our parents done an amazing job to work with what they had, but I've got memories of my mum spending an hour in a shop trying to negotiate on a $50 t-shirt with a salesman so that she could get us a t-shirt that we wanted, it didn't come easy. But the biggest hurdle that I've had to get over is what I refer to as broke mentality.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone else refers to it as broke mentality, but that's what I refer to.
Yeah.
I think when you grow up and you don't have a lot, the idea of spending a lot to invest in yourself is a foreign concept. So to spend 10 grand on a workshop when 10 grand would have changed your whole family's life when you were growing up, it's a hard concept to get your head around. And I think that's why a lot of men that grow up maybe in more affluent families tend to sometimes they do it faster because they're not scared to sort of throw the dollar concept's not holding them back.
Yeah.
They're either going to make it or they're not.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they're happy to sort of throw the money. It doesn't have the same weight that it does. So I was probably a bit frugal on reinvesting into myself.
Okay.
So if I could change that, I'd go back and I'd pour everything that I could, because the best investment that you ever make, before it's a stock, before it's a crypto, before it's anything, is yourself.
Yeah.
Like knowledge, learning, perception. That's number one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So just to put that gem back out there as well, let's never be afraid to invest in yourself. It's always worthwhile.
It's always worthwhile.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
So you take knowledge everywhere,
Yeah.
But the best thing that you ever do is to invest in yourself, especially in those early days, because when you look back on it now, you know, whether $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, if you're doing it right, when you get to that point, that money is insignificant.
Yeah.
But at the time, you can put that into yourself to make the journey faster. Yeah.
Are you referring to any breakthrough moments, any workshops, any courses, books, or anything that just were like a light bulb for you?
I'm referring more to just sort of moving through like the business.
Yeah.
You know, like whether it's leasing a bigger space, taking on a new employee. One thing that I've learned sort of throughout the process is you only have so many hours in a day. And, you know, even if you're working 12 hours a day, you can only get so much done. As soon as you bring somebody else on, you have another 12 hours.
Yeah, true.
Like you're buying time. So as long as the balance is correct and like what you're paying them is positively geared back towards your business, you are literally buying yourself time.
Yeah.
So
true.
you have 24 hours that are dedicated to your success. So, and you bring someone else on after that, and all of a sudden, you know.
Damn. Yeah. Okay. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
Because you can only achieve so much. Like, it doesn't matter who you are in the world. You can only achieve so much within. Everyone has the same amount of time, but you can buy that back. Every person that you bring into your organization or into your company, the time that you're paying them for is basically moving your interest forward.
Yeah.
So the more people you can have, the faster you're going to get to where you want to get to.
Okay. And so was that first, before you got your first employee, was that nerve-wracking for you?
Yeah, I didn't know. The concept was foreign to me. I didn't understand it. And that comes back to that broke mentality. I'm looking at it and thinking like, man, I have to pay them X amount. I have to pay how much super? I have to pay how much? But you don't understand that, like, at the time that, you know, that person is creating income for you. Like if I reach into my pocket and, you know, if you reach into your pocket and gave me $1,000 and I gave you $2,000 back, like how many times are you going to try and do that?
All day.
Exactly. Like, and it's exactly the same concept with an employee.
Yeah.
And if they're not creating their income, then they shouldn't be working for you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So it becomes, it's very basic.
Yeah, really. Hey,
it is.
But it's just the fear.
A lot of these concepts are basic, and I think that's where a lot of people either trip up or they overthink it. A lot of these concepts are very basic. The fundamentals stay the same, and the fundamentals have always been the same.
Yeah.
You know, create something, and make sure that you're getting paid for it. Like
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Cool. So you've filled out this hotel's car park, paying these people wine bottles.
Yeah.
Damn. Where did they put their cars?
They were out on the road. Like eventually we actually had the road. We had parked all over the road at one point as well.
Yeah, true. Okay. Yeah. And then at some point you're like, okay, I've got to get a warehouse.
Yeah, at some point I started, I've always been like a list person.
Yeah.
So I like seeing things.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I had lists all around the house, you know, with what cars, sort of how much they owed me and what I'd spent on them. And it just got to the point where I could see the value in it. And so it's all about taking that next step. And there'll always be a next step.
Yeah.
You know, it's just about taking it and not being scared to take it. So the next step for me at that time was moving out of like the apartment building car park.
Yeah.
And like really turning it into something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, wicked.
And so yeah, we rented our first space, 650 square meters.
Okay.
And that was a struggle. Like I overcapitalized to get that place, and mate, I was shitting myself signing that lease. Like I really was. I think it was a 3-year lease, the first lease that I'd done.
Yeah.
And within 2 years, I approached the landlord with a proposition, and I'd worked it all out, and I asked him to build me another shed on the property, another 650 square meters.
Yeah, wicked.
And I told him I'd pay him X amount more. So I'd worked it all out. He built me the shed. So, as I said, that's just another level, another spot.
Yeah. Okay. So did you like structure your year out? Like, so this quarter I'm gonna do this amount of cars, or like that quarter.
Yeah. So it's always best to the market always changes, and you know, some people calculate what they make on a daily basis or weekly basis. I've personally always done it in months and quarters.
Okay.
Because you're better off to look at it from a some weeks or even some months you're going to reinvest into the company more.
Yeah.
And it, as I said, comes back to that broke mentality again. You can't always look at sort of what the profit is that you're taking out of the business. You got to look at sort of the infrastructure that you're building or where the company's going in general.
Yeah.
You'll actually find like some of those months where you might not take, you might be the least money you took out of the company. Those are the most important months.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Yeah, and you've recently restructured everything as well.
Yeah, so we're going through we're going through a transition at the moment.
Yeah.
So Auto Direct Group itself is going through a rebrand.
Yeah.
Which is the next step for us, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, cool.
So we've got a few big things happening in that area.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Can you share?
Yeah, so we're basically restructuring into Play Performance.
Yeah.
As I said, when I first founded Auto Direct Group, we were selling, $3,000 to $5,000 vehicles.
Yeah.
Most of our vehicles are 60 to 100 grand
Yeah.
now. So the brand's changed, and as such, our customers have changed.
Yeah.
So we're changing as we evolve. And it's just, as I said, just another step. But everything feels just right and perfect with this. It's like it's just like sitting on the plane and watching someone walk down the aisle. Like, this is what's supposed to happen. And while it's hard and there's always going to be resistance, when you're on the right path, you generally the world opens up for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Just got to take the leap.
You just have to take the leap.
Yeah. And I would say build the plane in the air, but I mean, you've set up a good infrastructure, so it's not even really doing that, is it?
You can always tweak it.
Yeah.
You can always tweak it, you know. There's always a balance between being safe and taking on manageable risk. So a lot of people sit on the sidelines. The fact is that there's no right time.
Yeah.
There's just not, But in saying that as well, you also have to make sure, like, if you have people that you're supporting and, a family and kids and a mortgage and things like that, you can't take on too much risk. So it's a balance, but there's never any right time,
Yeah. Yep. And no one's going to come do it for you. That's for sure.
No, nobody gives a fuck about like your goals. Like maybe your mum or like anyone else in the world. No one cares.
Yeah.
It's up to you to get stuff happening.
Yeah. Okay. I'm hearing a bit of stoicism in your story as well. So you weren't going for being flashy. You weren't going for any of this until you absolutely could. Until it was just like, all right, the business is doing real well. Now I can have some nicer things as well. Until then, it was just pure logic, build.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if it's a different mentality that I have, but like if I'm having a shitty month, I can't drive. I'll actually leave like one of my most expensive cars that I have in the garage because I can't drive it and feel good about myself. I feel like a fraud.
Ah, true.
So like the work comes first.
Yeah.
And it only feels good because you can back it up, because the work's there. Like there's no satisfaction in having flashy shit if you can't sustain it.
Yeah.
For me personally, and I would assume it would be the same for most people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a big believer in, like, if you can't afford it, don't get it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, wow. So this day, you're still as harder on yourself. Like
100%. Harder.
Brutal. Yeah, harder.
Harder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So back when I was sort of first coming up and I was trying to build something, and like God's honest truth, I was doing those things for me. Like it was for me that I was doing them, It was things that I felt like I missed out on.
Yeah.
Things, dreams that I had, it was all about me.
Yeah.
Sort of, it does change. I don't have a family or kids, but I imagine as a man, when you do have a family and kids, that would change automatically. All of a sudden, you're doing that for the people that rely upon you.
Yeah.
I'm kind of doing it now for like legacy for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to build something that's bigger than myself. And so that's my motivation.
Yeah. Okay.
So when I first started, I would like base my success around how much money that I was making because it was all about me.
Yeah.
Now I base my success around how much money my employees make. because if I know that my sales manager or my business manager are making really good money and they're winning, then I know, because I've set up the processes as a byproduct, I know that I'm winning. I don't have to do those calculations.
Okay.
So for me, I want them to win.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's changed. And that's a luxury to be able to have that, but to be able to focus on making sure the people around you are building and growing, and you can instill some of the things you've learned into them and watch them come up. It's a luxury, but that's where the satisfaction is for me now. It's not in just putting another number on the board, because eventually, like it sounds arrogant, but eventually they don't mean as much as what they used to. Whether there's a zero on the end of it, it doesn't mean shit. Like,
no, for sure.
It's about what you've created, and what the people around you that work with you think of you. As I said, it's a luxury that I didn't have until I had something behind me. And it's hard to be like that when you're first coming up, because you have to be so motivated. You have to have something tangible. Whether it's dreaming about having the car that you want, or dreaming about having the house that you want. But once you have those things, you have to keep reaching. Otherwise you go flat. Like,
there's stages of a man, apparently, and there's two of the stages are prince and king, and it sounds like, because the prince goes for himself, and then the king goes for looking around for the people around him. This is the stages of us, and I think that's where every man wants to get to, that point where he can reach out and then start to cater for a bigger audience, and like you said, legacy, man. So what's that look like to you? So, like, say we fast forward 10 years, 20 years, what's that look like to you, man? Where's this going?
I've always tried to stay somewhat of a chameleon. So I've never kind of pigeonholed myself as a car dealer or a something. It's always been, these have always been tools to sort of keep moving. But I've sort of come to terms that my motive is to just create. I do struggle sometimes to be able to sit there and look back at what I've created, and I've almost come to terms now that I have one gear, and that gear is to go forward and create, and whether that's for somebody else, hopefully at some point. But that's where I'm most comfortable.
Okay.
And I think it's just, as I said, like, it's just the way that I grew up, and I think that a lot of men grow up, especially a lot of Kiwis living in Australia, coming from New Zealand and maybe coming from a poverty background. You're constantly trying to outrun what you thought might be your destiny.
And to dive deeper into that, because we'll probably have a lot of Kiwi listeners as well. Guys that came up in the same position that you were in as well. What would be like one big gem that you could just drop from? Like one crucial piece of advice?
Like specifically for Kiwis?
Well, any man really coming up, he wants bigger things. He's not sure of how to get it, but I mean, obviously you weren't sure of how the next step. You were just like, go, fearless, relentless. But what would be a gem you could drop for him?
I think probably like one thing that I find interesting is it's all very well to listen to all of the books and watch all of the media, and a lot of people buy those books and listen to those books because they're looking for a secret. Like that, there's something in those books that's going to tell them, and everything's going to make sense, and it's going to click, and all of a sudden they're going to get everything that they want. I think that people are confused that the message is not in the words. The message is actually in the energy.
Okay.
Yeah. So the secret is not in what's written in the pages. The secret is in how it's written. A lot of the time, it's just that you just have to do it. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
There's you can only sit on the sidelines for so long. And a lot of the people, like the people that have written these books, have actually done it, and it's trying to get onto that energy of just whatever it is that you're trying to chase, whether it's a short-term goal or long-term goal, whether it's legacy, whether it's for your family. It's just a matter of fucking doing it. Get stuck in, get the job finished, stop talking about it. Just 100%. Get it done.
Just execute.
It. And as I said, you can sit and you can read every book, and you can keep hoping that someone's going to tell you like a secret way or a shortcut. But while you're looking for the shortcut, I'm outworking you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm up early. I'm working on myself. I'm working on my businesses. I have people that I now own their time, who are working for my businesses.
Yeah.
And that's the secret. Do you know what I mean? You can sit on the sidelines for too long.
Yeah. Yep.
And time just keeps moving, bro. Like, time's short, you know?
Yeah.
You only have so much economic energy to put out.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people in this whole, I guess, entrepreneurial, like build a business space, a lot of people are chasing the dream type of business.
For sure.
But, and they're stuck in the, all right, I'll make a business that serves me instead of serves value.
100%.
Did you ever have any experience in that? I'm sure you didn't, because you were just like hungry chasing, but could you speak on that?
The concept is foreign to me. So I've had people that I've sat down with before and said, like, I would love to be able to just like work from my laptop wherever I want. And I'm like if you go to any business, right? Like the Gold Coast, Sydney, wherever you're watching this from, you go to any, like, you know, go to a law firm car park on a Saturday. It's always the most expensive cars that are in the car park on a Saturday. Yeah. It's always the people like that are the most affluent, that are the most driven. They don't care. They're not having to work from home. Like, if you can work from home, it's a bonus. But work from wherever you have to work from. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, the emphasis should not be on the work being easy. The emphasis should be on the work being paid and you know, being fulfilling. Yeah, true. Because if you can create fulfilling work and you're being compensated for it at the right rate, then it's scalable. But yeah, for the emphasis to be on it being easy, you're already backwards. Yeah, like you're already backwards. And that's, you know, like if that's why a lot of people that have sort of grown up hungry or grown up in low income jobs, they're already halfway there, because you have that mentality. It's already inbuilt to you. You know, you're already the hardest worker in the room. Yeah. And as I said, if just from that point of being at that bus stop and for the first time in my life, like, knowing that I had no safety net. Yeah. My mum was dead. I had no safety net. I had no money. I had no food. Knowing that, like, if I was going to eat tonight, I had to create something. And I've always held on to that. Yeah. So that's it's a scar that I carry. And so whether or not now I have a home, I have most of the things that I ever wanted, really, I still hold that scar, and that scar is the most beautiful scar. It's the most important, like, period of my life, because it gave me everything that I ever wanted. Yeah. So probably, actually, let me alter my answer from before. Yeah, cool, bro. So I probably think the most important thing that people should know is those hard times are actually the best times. And it's easy to say that and not grab onto what I'm saying. Those periods of time where you're underwater and, like, it's like you're at the bottom of a pool and, like, you have two options. You can either push up or you can just sit there and fucking drown. Like, that period of time, whether or not, like, you know, you're going through a depression, or whether or not you're going through a breakup, or you're struggling, you're living in a bus stop and you don't have food, whatever it is, like, you have the option to change, and you'll always carry that power once you've connected to not having, like, to being hard done by or being a have-not. It's a fucking superpower, bro. Like, it is a superpower. I come up against people in my industry now that have, you know, they got daddy's money, or they've been at private schools or whatever. They have nothing on me, bro. Like, they've got to where they've got to. I've got to the same spot with weights on my ankles. Do you know what I mean? So, like, resistance training. Yeah, wow. So, like, for them to look at me and say, I shouldn't be here. Like, I should be here twice as much as you should, because I've done the same shit, and I've done it with weights strapped to my ankles. And, like, if you can connect to that, you know, whatever you're going through, and you can see your misfortune or what you think, you know, is a problem or a fault in your life. You know, you grew up without something, or, you know, a broken family, or you've got trauma. If you can turn that into the reason why you have to succeed, there's nothing stronger than that. There's no book that will give you more motivation. There's no secret that someone will tell you. That's the secret.
Yeah, wow. You almost need a mic to drop, man. God damn. Yeah, so the biggest curse someone could view as a curse or their biggest blessing.
100%.
Their biggest fuel, inspiration, motivation. Yeah, wow, dude.
The curse is in a lot of cases the blessing, and sometimes as well, just to like take that a little bit further, it gets interesting as well because what you can do as well, like once you've connected to the problem or the curse, I've got a saying that, whether or not a lion, like if you have two people running, you have one person who's running away from a lion, right? He's running through the jungle. He knows that a lion's chasing him. Mm-hmm. His body is going to release chemicals and endorphins and adrenaline for him to survive, to run faster. Mm. If you believe that a lion is chasing you and there's no lion in sight, but your body and your mind believes that you're being chased by a lion, it will still release the same chemicals. Yeah. It'll still release the adrenaline. It'll still release the survival instinct that you need to outrun the lion. Yeah. So your mind is so powerful. If you don't have that motivation or that story, you can like emulate it. Like you can still talk yourself into being in a position where you still feel like you're running away from the lion. The mind is crazy.
Yeah, man. Tell me more about that, because we had a conversation and you even created this tape for yourself, this audio tape. Yeah. Because I'm like, all right, there's got to be a good, solid mindset. Obviously there is. You're dropping gems. Man, there's got to be a solid mindset to build something like this, right? And I think that is the problem for most people. It's like consciously everybody wants to do these big things. Yeah. But subconsciously, down deep inside, there's something holding them back. So did you, like... You told me a bit about it, but how was the journey for you where you were rewiring everything in there so you could perform better out here? Please.
Yeah, so this is something that I'm still... I don't know whether it was a really healthy thing to do at the time, but when you have when every cell in your body and every part of your body knows that the goal is to accomplish what you want to accomplish, your body does some funny things. I got to a point where I could, I basically rewired every emotion that I had into creating income. So for me, it was a short-sighted goal, because creating income should never just be the goal. That should be a byproduct of the goal. But as I said, sometimes you need a motivating factor. I managed to like rewire my consciousness so that if I felt happy, as soon as I felt happy, I would say, I would be happier if I had money. If I was sad, I thought, shit, man, I wouldn't be sad if I had money. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, everything. I managed to sort of rewire my brain. And one of the things that I sort of done with that, and as you just touched on before, I noticed that a lot of people were listening to like motivational music or motivational seminars while they're at the gym. And I thought to myself, like, I want that, but I want it to be harder than that. Yeah. Like I want to do something different than that. So I wrote my own like motivational speech, but I wrote it as if somebody was talking to me, like a personal trainer, like they were telling me. But this motivation had, I touched on my mum dying of breast cancer. I touched on going to bed and crying and praying that my parents would win lotto so they'd stop fighting. I touched on a lot of these like traumas and that I had growing up, and I wrote them all down. I wrote 10 or 15 pages of all of these things that I knew that would stir up emotion for me. Wow. And I sent it through to an American voiceover actor. So somebody that sounded like a motivational speaker on YouTube. Yeah. And I got him to, I sent him through the concept, and I was like, I need you to read this for me, and I need you to read it with some real hard emotion. And it started off like, I listened to it every day for like a year when I was first coming up, but it sort of started off like, wake up, it's time to get your shit together sort of thing. And I had all my goals listed. And anyway, I sent it off to this American voiceover actor, and he sent me back the tape. Yeah. And he sent me back an email with the tape, and he said, man, I've never had anybody do this before. I think it was going to cost me $500 bucks. Yeah. And he goes, I'm not going to charge you. Damn. He goes, I'm really happy. He goes, I'm a migrant living in America. And he said, some of the things that you said in that writing really touched me. And he goes, I just want to contribute to your journey.
Wow.
And so he sent it over to me and didn't charge me for it.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, and I listen to that like every day.
Huh.
Yeah.
And you put some music behind it?
Yeah. Put like my favorite hip hop music behind it.
Yeah.
You know, like my training music, and I got someone to mix it up for me. So every morning I jumped on that treadmill. You know, I knew it off by heart. Like,
Yeah.
And it awakened the beast. Like it awakened the version of me that I needed to be in order to achieve my goals, because sometimes you have to alter that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're not the version of you that you have to be. Like you have to change that as you go, depending on like what the outcome is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would listen to this every morning?
Every morning.
All day?
Every morning in the gym.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long was the duration of the tape?
It was about 22, 23 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I listened to it on the treadmill, and then I'd turn my hip-hop music on after that.
Okay.
But it programmed me. It almost like indoctrinated, like I had my 10 goals, it indoctrinated me.
Yeah.
And it was just like a regiment.
Yeah, wow.
And that's kind of like, that's where I was at the time. Like there was nothing that would have stopped me. Like, and I mean that not in an arrogant way, but I mean it in, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Like it's, nobody else will believe in you.
Yeah.
And nobody else will believe in what you want to achieve. So you have to make sure that not only do you believe in it, but like you're willing to die behind it. You know, and sometimes doing things like that, or thinking outside the box and thinking what's going to be the most effective way for me to achieve this, or if I can't achieve it in one way, what's going to be the most effective way that will put me in a position to be able to better achieve it.
Yeah, man. Dude, I don't even think of stuff like that as arrogant. See, I see it as, and I said this to my wife the other day, I'm like, I have to hype myself up. Because if I don't hype myself up, who will?
Exactly.
If I'm not sold on myself, nobody's going to believe in me, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's transferable, man. Like you have to look at the world as a marketplace. Like we're in this room right now, but as soon as you leave this room and you're out there in the marketplace in the world, you're advertising yourself.
Yeah.
And if you go out there like broken and not confident in who you are, people will pick up on that, and they won't be confident in who you are either, or what you're selling, or what you believe in. You have to stand behind yourself, you know?
Yeah, wow. 100%, man. Yeah, I think everybody needs a bit of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And to never be caught up in, oh man, what will they think of me? It's like, nah, they'll think better of you later.
Yeah, for sure.
once you believe in yourself and you just go get it, right?
It's a gift. That's a gift, you know, and it's something that I'm constantly working on, or trying to work on, and especially in the beginning, like especially, you know, I can't tell you like how many parties or social events I missed because of where my head was at. Like where I was going was more important. But at the time, man, like you're always going to get people like, why don't you do this, or why are you doing? I genuinely had 2 or 3 years into it, when I was really starting to get somewhere. I remember having friends that genuinely sat with me and said, dude, you're working too much. Like you're doing too much. And funnily enough, and no disrespect to anybody that said that, but nobody that ever has more than you will tell you that.
Yeah.
Because they understand. Like they've paved the way. Like you're never doing more than them. It's always the people that you're moving away from, or you're creating distance from, or your success highlights their failures or their inaction. Those are the people that are insecure about that. And it doesn't make them bad people, but they will try and hold you, you know?
Yeah.
Whether it's to keep the friendship, or it's just to maybe not highlight that they're not that interested in sort of moving forward, or they haven't quite worked out how to do it yet.
Yeah.
But you have to recognize that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the people that are around you are just as important as as what you tell yourself.
Did you have to cut people off along your journey? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But what's cool about that is it's not that cut and dry.
Yeah.
It's not just cutting people off and that's it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and in the best times, you'll cut people off and then they'll come back. And when they come back, they're better.
Yeah, I see.
They might just need a little bit longer. You know, or they might see what you're doing. They might not like understand that at the time, but your change might inspire their change.
Yeah.
You know.
True.
And that's what that's when it feels good. Like I'm when I'm saying this, I'm actually thinking about a particular person.
Yeah.
And one of my best friends, and he wasn't ready at the time. I actually, and he won't be upset with me telling the story because he's probably one of the most successful people that I know now.
Yeah.
He's killing it.
Yeah.
But when I was in that bus stop, and after I was in the bus stop, I when I was on the mattress on the floor, I bought the first book. It was called The Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah.
That was the first book that I ever read. And I read that book, man, and like, I never grew up with stuff like that. Like, I didn't, it was completely foreign to me. But after I read that book, in my mind, I could see there was more. And I remember going back to my best friend, and I was like, bro, like, I just read this crazy book. Like, you have to read this. This is going to change our lives. And he looked at me and said, I don't have to read it. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, I don't need to read it because you read it and you can tell me what it said.
Oh, damn. Okay.
And that was like a point that I knew he wasn't ready. And at that point, I kept the trajectory and I kept moving forward. And he plateaued for quite a while until that changed. You know, and he came back into my life, and he's killing it now.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
I don't mean any disrespect at all.
Of course, yeah.
But it's not, as I said, it's not just a matter of cutting people off. You know, sometimes those people, they're just not ready, and sometimes they'll come back into your life, and when they do come back into your life, maybe you've inspired them to change and created growth. And that's what it's about. Like, as I said, the more you get and the more you can see, the more you understand that it's not about you. Like, it's about the people that you're bringing with you. And that's the luxury of having money. Funnily enough, is you think the objective is that having money will service you, but it's actually not. The more money you have, the more you understand that money gives you the ability to service others.
Yeah.
And not in like a cheesy, like you can donate to any charity you want way, but like you get to be able to, you know, produce and be able to give to the things that you care about. You know?
Yeah, man, I feel you on that. 100%. Like, yeah, for me, for example, I got my kids in the best schools on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, even just that.
100%.
Even just that one thing, it's like, yes, they can go to the best school.
Yeah.
It's like better than sending them to the...
But that's the whole point, right?
You know,
like,
it's like, it's awesome, man. It's so fulfilling.
Yeah, but and you can compare that to like somebody who, you know, who's making money to buy like a nice pair of Nikes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a completely different concept.
Yeah.
But again, that's the motivational stuff that you can sort of suck onto. That's the drive factor, eh?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, bigger than just us. Yeah, and I guess, so what I think that's what holds people back as well. So they're only thinking about themselves.
For sure.
Yeah.
When you talk to somebody, and I've had a lot of experiences where you chat to somebody about, you know, maybe not fulfilling their dreams or goals. It's always about them. It's always about like, oh no, I don't need to do this, or I don't want to do this. If you have the ability to create, so income is a means of servicing, right? So the income is a byproduct. It's not the end goal.
Yeah.
If you have the means to be able to create something that can contribute to the issues and things that you care about, you have the responsibility to do it. It's selfish not to. Do you know what I mean? Like, you talk to people that aren't sort of moving forward or interested in moving forward, and it's like, do you ever have a family member that suffered a disease? Do you have a church that you care about? You know, do you have children? Do they have things they want to do?
Yeah.
You know, a school that you want to, you know what I mean? And if you have none of those things, then what sort of person are you?
100%. Yeah.
You know, so there's only really one option, and that's to utilize as much brain capacity and, you know, for men, like utilize our strength and power and our masculinity and put it into you know, directions to create something.
Yeah, man. There's this one thing as well. So even if they had no one, What about their ancestors?
100%.
The ancestors who went through all this shit
sure.
just to have us here.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
They probably suffered their asses off.
Yeah.
Just to get us fed.
Yeah, to
Just-
sit at home and play Call of Duty all day. Nothing against Call of Duty either,
Damn,
but
man.
like, yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that, and that's probably what the ticket is to is for people to actually understand that it's bigger than them. You know what I mean? Like, and just hearing the things that we're talking about, like, you know, you can't listen to those things and still think it's about you, because it's that's not enough.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and so simplified, that core message is, if you want to be successful, stop just thinking about yourself.
For sure.
Think about everyone else and then become successful.
For sure.
That's how you do it. Yeah.
Because you can't not be successful with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
it's your responsibility. You have to.
Yeah. Yeah, wow.
And even if, let's just say, like, you're not materialistic. I don't need money because I don't want a Louis Vuitton handbag. I don't need money because I don't care about, you know, expensive cars. That's not what it's about.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Get a family member, Louis Vuitton then.
Yeah,
you don't want
your
it.
girlfriend cares about Louis Vuitton handbags.
Exactly.
She probably wants 3 of them.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah,
20.
exactly. That's what it's about. It's
Yeah.
about options, right? Like,
Word, yeah. Yeah, dude. Man, cool. Bro, so many gems, dude. Jay, is there anything else, like, specifically? Because you got a lot going on. There's obviously, you're a legacy man. There's a lot on the plate. Lots coming. Is there anything you wanted to cover specifically?
I think we've sort of knocked out quite a lot.
Yeah, dude.
Here, I think all else I can say is that, you know, just keep moving forward. Like, to anyone that's watching this and you know, that may have suffered like a hard time, or, you know, I know depression in men, and it's something that I've always that's something that's affected me in the past as well. There's always a brighter day, and just stick at it and keep through it, and you know, just don't give up.
See the light at the end of the tunnel.
There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes you just can't see it, you know. But it gets better. But yeah, just put as much energy into the things that you care about, and just go and live and build a happy life for you and the people that you care about. Because at the end of the day, you know, that's probably the best thing you can do for your family, and it's your responsibility as a man.
Damn. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I have had mates who finished themselves as well.
Yeah.
And I had thoughts once upon a time of finishing myself.
Yeah.
And dude, what kept me going was that belief of, if I just keep going, man, there'll be some good around the corner. Like, doesn't matter what's going on right now, if I fucking keep moving, I'll have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And obviously you had that same story as well.
Yeah. Sometimes sometimes we don't even have the luxury to be so sure that there's something else coming around the corner. You know what I mean? And mental illness, depression is a mental illness. Like, it's a disease, and it does stop you from being able to see the good in things like that. But just hold on, man.
Yeah.
Like, anybody that's dealing with that or going through that, you know, even just the tiniest changes, exercising or going for a walk, or you know, there's always better days.
100%.
Yeah.
Waking up, having something to work on. Hey?
Yeah.
Having like a goal, even if it's a little one, right?
Yeah.
Just wake up, just pursue it relentlessly.
Sure. Well, like, you know, men are supposed to be high producing. Like that's who we are. Like that's what testosterone is. Like, testosterone gives us the ability to protect, and it gives us the ability to service, and it gives us the ability to be a provider. You know, and so a lot of men that feel like they're not providing for anybody, or they can't service, or, you know, that they don't have the ability to protect. You know, I feel like they're not living in their natural state. So that can be quite, you know, a depressing sort of thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just about getting out there, moving, and sort of just, you know, building through those elements, and coming back to like your natural masculinity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remembering, we all have a death clock.
We do.
And it's ticking away.
We do. 100%.
So live this shit.
You got to live it, bro.
Yeah, dude. Damn.
You got to live it.
Jay, bro, it's been an honor, man.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you so much, man. So many gems. Yeah, people are going to get a lot of value out of this, dude.
Cool,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and your story, man. Damn.
Well, the story's still going, bro. So let's check in another year or so.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I can't wait to hear about the launch of everything with Play Performance as well, and how
Thanks,
everything
brother.
transitions, man. Yeah, dude. Yeah, and thanks for having me at the crib, by the way.
You're welcome, man.
It's real nice. Felt like a Cribs episode walking in here.
Thanks, bro. You don't look like Exhibit though.
Yeah, man. Too good, bro. How to Man podcast. My name's James Yoxon. We got Jay Ingram here, founder of Auto Direct Group and also Play Performance. So, man, we're going to wind it up here. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, you need to hit it right now so you get more gems like this when we drop the next episode, and hit the notification bell. All right, lots of love. We'll chat to you guys soon. 'Cause I don't see no hesitation, baby. 'Cause I just see the levitation, baby.